And Ms. Pearsall, if you would please do us the pleasure of sharing your expertise, ma'am. I am timer.
Thank you, Anna, very much for having this. I guess I'd like to start by saying that our clients really want their day in court. I know in this case, I really wanted this jury trial. I pushed for it. I was the one that got everybody else stuck in this virtual world and got the order from Judge Sakai that there'll be no continuances for any reason absent, some catastrophe. And I think that all of our clients deserve it. I also think we have a lot of opposing counsel that are now using this jury demand as a way to get out of ever going to trial. So I think we all need to figure out how to do this so we can protect our clients and we can get them justice and we can get them their day in court. The one really cool thing about Bexar County that I think most of us do not know, I didn't know that before this jury trial started, is Bexar County has iPads, and they're iPads with hotspots that they will loan out to every juror, every witness, every party, every lawyer. They are free. They will take care of any technical, limitations that the jurors or the parties or the witnesses have. And that's really cool. So for anybody who's afraid that their client just, can't figure out how to work it, or, their witnesses, don't have the capacity, Bexar County has a really cool system set up. It's no charge, and they will make sure everyone has it. I agree with what was kind of hinted on and talked about by all of my colleagues. Definitely expect the unexpected in this virtual world. We had attorneys who in the middle of the jury trial, CPS came outside their house and cut their electricity. The roof in my building decided to be replaced in the middle of my closing argument. We had jurors who had knocks on the door, whose dinner was burning, whose iPads died. And it's okay, we dealt with all of those, but just sort of expect the unexpected. There were strange reasons. We paused and then had to come back, and we survived and moved on. But that definitely happens, and I just think it's things you sort of need to expect in a virtual jury trial that you're not going to expect, that aren't going to happen when we're doing them in person. I also agree with Mr. Rodriguez that we had a court reporter who was taking a record in real time, and that was amazing. And honestly, I don't know how you can do a virtual jury trial unless you have a court reporter in real time. Because when someone dropped off, we all were watching, the jurors were watching, the judge was watching, and we very accurately could say, okay, they dropped off at 12:32. And our court reporter read it back, and we got right back on and continued with the trial. And that was amazing and avoided, in my opinion, any appellate errors, and everybody, continued on and stayed on and heard everything. So that was amazingly helpful. When we are getting ready for any jury trial, I think we all as attorneys bring someone to help us, whether that's another attorney or our assistant. I think virtual jury trial should be done exactly the same way, especially for voir dire. You definitely need to update your Zoom and have the latest update. That allows you to have up to 49 windows in your screen. When you have a large jury pool, we had 55. That was helpful. What I personally did, I actually liked the bigger screens. And so I had 3 different screens in my office that were being watched by 3 different people. And one of my screens was 60 inches, and another one was 55. And I have never seen juror faces that clearly in any of my jury trials before. And we could truly judge their emotion. We all were taking notes. I knew every juror that squinted, made a face, smiled at anything we said. I don't think I've ever picked a jury as well as I did in this trial, because we could really see that. And I think there is this concern that because we're in the virtual world, well, how do you know what they're feeling? How do you know what they're thinking? You don't really connect. I actually think it was exactly the opposite. We saw them so well, and we could judge all of their reactions. And I think we struck something like 15 jurors for cause. I don't know the exact number, because I agree. They were really comfortable. They were really honest. When we questioned them one-on-one, it was in the breakout room. And so there was no concern of anybody else maybe hearing something from the back or them being embarrassed. We got amazing amount of embarrassing, honest answers. And I think that helped us pick an amazing jury that truly, you know, could judge the facts, not on their own prejudices. In this case, it had a lot of prejudices. We had homosexual issues, we had termination of parental rights issues, we had drugs, we had mental health. This case had a lot of really sensitive issues. And I was really impressed with the jury and their honesty. Pre-admission exhibits, that was wonderful. It was very helpful. It streamlined the process. I'm a big believer in doing that in non-jury and jury trials. And, you know, I agree that if those exhibits weren't pre-admitted, I think this jury trial would have taken extra weeks. So I definitely think if you can work that out with the judge and with opposing counsel, you should do that. Next, I'd like to talk about Zoom advantages. You know, we all have these fears of Zoom. We're lawyers. Most of us don't like technology. And 11 months ago, I think we were all petrified of this crazy new system called Zoom. But we all know how it works now. We've all been using it 5 days a week at least for about 11 months. And honestly, Zoom in a jury trial is no different than Zoom in any other trial. And it has so many cool things we can't do in real life. We have witnesses from other countries that we can get that cost nothing that can appear. We have really unfriendly witnesses who truly can't argue with us because of that time lapse that Mr. Rodriguez mentioned. That's really helpful. You actually get to ask your question and they get to be silent. So there is none of that interruption, which I think helps definitely court reporters, but also just the smoothness of the trial. Exhibits are really, really cool. You can do things on Zoom you cannot do in real life. We can share exhibits. We can blow them up. We can underline and highlight things and point out what the jury gets to see. And while we are sharing the screen, they have no choice but to actually look at our exhibit. There's nothing else they can look at. I know Mr. Rodriguez had some interesting exhibits because he had an interesting client. And so I had really a lot of fun using his client's exhibits and saying, jury, please read this. I had at one point his client read, yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, especially when you're talking about advantages, but I do want to make sure that we get to the next speaker. And I'm sure you're going to get peppered with a lot of questions. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise.